So, what do we talk about on today's episode? I'm going to make this really simple and I'm going to sound like your parent. You ready? I'm going to help you unlock your genius at a level that you've never experienced before and give you a crystal clear path to every single one of your goals. And all you have to do is take a bath. Yep, that's right. You just get to take a bath. And I explain why and how in today's episode. So, I'm going to leave it at that. Let's cue the intro and let's get into the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind of George Show. What am I going to tell you to do today? I'm going to tell you to take a bath. I'm going to tell you to take a bath to unlock your genius. But that's not the only thing I'm going to tell you. I'm actually going to tell you two things today. Two. They both require action. They both will massively benefit you. And there's absolutely zero way to lose the game if you do these two things. So, I'm going to tell you what they are, but before we get there, I'm going to ask you to shine the light today. So, today's episode is going to be loaded. Last Monday's episode, the one where I said stop lying to yourself, was our most downloaded episode on day one, and I want you to keep sharing. Thank you for shining your light. Thank you for shining my light. Thank you for helping other people find this podcast. It makes a difference, and I have a dirty little secret. It's really not dirty, and it's probably not a secret. But of everything I've ever done in my entrepreneurial journey, actually my entire life and almost 40 years of my life, this podcast single-handedly is the thing that I love more than anything. I love recording them. I love interviewing guests. I love reading your comments. I love getting DMs from you. I love hearing the difference it makes. I love answering your questions. I basically like giving away everything for free. It makes my heart happy. And I don't have sponsors and I don't want to have sponsors. And so my quote unquote sponsor revenue is from you sharing the podcast and getting more people to listen. More people that listen, more people come to our events. More people that come to our events, more people build and scale their business. More people that build and scale their business, the bigger impact they have, the bigger impact we have. Then they get coaching, then they join our mastermind, and our entire world works together by shining light. And so when I ask you to pay the tax, please don't just be a passive consumer. There's enough of that happening in today's day and age, right? Go passively consume all the bullshit that's on the internet, but not the good stuff. Stop sharing crappy stuff, share good stuff. Be proud of what you learn. Bring people on the journey with you. Create. So listen to this podcast, take a nugget, take a quotable, and then share it with your audience. Here's a newsflash. If you study brain science, if you study how your brain works and how your memory is stored and what will create results, consuming is one modality. But when you can consume and then you can share and you turn around and teach what you've learned, it cements it in and it becomes concrete for you. And so I'm going to ask you to shine your light. I'm going to ask you to listen to this podcast or listen to any other podcast on the show and share it. Tag me on Instagram. Put an Instagram story up. Put it in your feed. If you've done it, you know I read them. I comment. I respond to every one of your DMs. And I actually care. I want to help you. I want to answer your questions. So I'm going to do that until I can no longer do it myself. And then I'm going to hire somebody to help me do it. And we're going to keep supporting you. So please shine your light. Share this episode. Grab a clip. Grab a nugget. Do whatever it is you want to do to get the word out there and tag me. My Instagram is It's George Bryant, ITSGeorge. Bryant, and you can tag me on Instagram stories. I will repost it. Send me a DM. I will respond. Tag me in your comments or in your post. I will come read it. That's the game. So that's how you're going to shine your light. So now with that being said, I want you to remember something. Okay. So I want you to think about a time, and I'm going to use a massage as a time for me, right? So think about a time where you've gone to do something where you haven't had your phone, you've been completely present, like a massage, right? And so for me, what typically happens for me is like I'll go in, I'll have a massage scheduled, and then I'm like, oh my God, should I cancel this appointment? I shouldn't go. I have so much to do. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And then I'm like, I'm going anyways, right? And then I lay down on the table, and for like the first 15 to 20 minutes, my brain is racing like a supercomputer. Like, what about this? I got to do this. 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 And then there's a point in which I purge it all, process it all, and I fully surrender. And I typically surrender to the moment, right? I surrender to that moment of presence, joy, pain, depending on the massage and how hard I've been working out. Whatever that moment is, I surrender. I know other people that do this if they get manicures, if they get pedicures. Float tanks are one of my favorite things. Doing cryotherapy, doing ice baths, doing anything that eliminates any outside distraction has a way to center and ground us in ourselves. And I want you to think about one of those moments in your life. And I want you to try to think back and remember when you were completing one of those moments, how grounded, aligned, and basically intelligent you felt, right? So for me, one of the things that happens is when I get out of a massage, typically I have to open my phone because I have 1,000 ideas that solved all these challenges and pain points that I've been facing. All this resistance that I didn't know how to get through came to me when I allowed myself the space to really feel it, when I allowed myself the space to process it. And sometimes for me, that's forcing it. Sometimes it's like, okay, I got to get a massage because it's going to force me to be present. I'm going to go take a nature bath because it's going to force me to be present. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I want you to really, really think about it. Even thinking about your car, right? When you're commuting, let's say you have an hour commute, and I used to commute an hour and 15 minutes each way. And I would practice commuting in silence, no radio, no podcast, no nothing. And the first 20, 30 minutes would be rough because I'd be like, I just want to numb my mind. I want to listen to something. I want to do something. I want to watch something. I want to hear something. But once you sit through that resistance, clarity comes. And I would find this peace. I would find this peace in whatever was going around me. And I'd be like, wow, oh my God, I can just do that. Oh, that's really simple. Oh, this is what it feels like to be intentional, to look at the whole picture, to make a plan. And I feel like it's one of the greatest secret weapons that human beings can have, but even more so entrepreneurs. And it's one that in society, in today's world, in today's day and age, is trying to be programmed out of you. Every single thing that you're surrounded by is trying to capitalize on your attention and take your attention away from yourself. Let's say that again. Every single thing that you have around you, and this is a good or a bad thing, it's neutral. Your friends, your kids, billboards, television, radio shows, podcasts, YouTube, books, stores, you name it. Every single place that you go, every single thing that you do, at every single moment of your life, unless you are intentionally protecting yourself, intentionally building containers, is competing for and demanding as much of your attention as possible to monetize and to utilize, which is coming at the sacrifice of you giving that attention to yourself. And if you go back and you study history, if you study the greats, if you study Stoicism, if you study philosophy, if you study anything, there's one commonality that all of them have in common. And it is really leaning in, embracing, and running towards alone time as much as possible. And so today I'm going to share the two most powerful things that I have, that I do, that I use to make a difference for me. And what's funny is if you start doing the research and you start looking into this, you're going to realize that most of your mentors, most of your idols, most of the successful people you look up to do the same things. And I get asked all the time, George, what's the secret? What's the secret? What are they doing that I'm not doing? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And I tell this to my mastermind students and anybody who's in my world, and it comes right back down to the relationships beats algorithms approach. Typically, what they're doing, and you're not, is they are honoring the relationship with themselves and they are nurturing it, leaning in, and working on it, where we, myself included, get distracted and sacrifice the relationship with myself and give that energy and attention to everybody outside of me on social, on Instagram, on video, on podcasts, on boom, because the world that we live in is constantly going to demand our attention. And it's our job to create a container between us and the world so we choose when to let that in and we choose when to give our energy and attention to those things outside of us, but only once we have given that energy and attention to ourselves. So I'm going to close the loop and come all the way back to the beginning. Why do I want you to take a bath? I want you to take a bath because I want you to take a nature bath, okay? So there's this amazing term. It's a Japanese term. It's called a Shinrin Yoku, which basically translates to nature bath, right? And a Shinrin Yoku is, I mean, you can study the history on this, go read about it, just Google it. Shinrin Yoku. It's Shinrin, Yoku, Yoku. It has been documented for years And they have actually studied the physical benefits of it on you, on other people, and not one person can say it doesn't work. And so what are some of the benefits they found? A Shinrin Yoku, it's both good for your physical and your mental well-being. It's proven to reduce your cortisol production, which is your stress hormone production. It improves feelings of happiness and frees up creativity. It lowers your heart rate and blood pressure. It boosts your immune system, and it accelerates recovery from illness. You can say bullshit all day, and I'm going to say go try it. Because you pick a health blogger, which, by the way, I used to be one. You look at the best travel hacks for beating jet lag, and one of the best ones is to ground. So get barefoot, go outside, and get vitamin D the moment you land. You start looking at a lot of the ways in which people heal their bodies and heal their recovery. When they need to de-stress, they say get into nature. We use cold therapy. We use nature. We use hiking. We do things with our physical body that realign us and get us grounded and centered. And to Shinrin Yoku is one of the most powerful ways. And it is so powerful that the Japanese government has approved and listed 47 specific forests in Japan for people to practice Shinrin Yokus, which means you go out, no phone, no nothing, and you go out into nature and you take an actual nature bath. Like you're sitting in a bathtub of Mother Nature. Leaves, wind, weather, sound, animals, wildlife, it doesn't matter. But you are bathing in the beauty that's around you. And you can go one of two ways with this. You can go study the woo-woo side, which I love to do, right? Talking about energy and consciousness and source and God. Or you can go the scientific side and you can start studying the magnetic fields, the earth currents, the rhythms, the benefits of nature, the harmony of everything connected. Like, don't believe me? Go watch the Netflix documentary on fantastic fungi and your mind is going to be blown. But either way, no matter which side you choose, if you go the analytical, tell me how and show me how this is going to benefit me, you can find the science to it. If you go to the woo side and you're like, okay, I'm in, George, I speak woo like you, let's go play, you can find all those benefits as well. But they only come if you actually take a bath. Just like a massage is only beneficial if you show up and go through with it. All of these things require intentional action because no one's coming to do it for you. No one's going to make you do it. And if it gets to the point where your world is forcing you into it, it's already too late because you're reacting to an outside stimulus, typically from a trauma or a pain, instead of being proactive and preventing it from happening. And so, number one is I'm going to challenge you, anybody, everybody, challenge you, challenge your friends, challenge people around you, lead by example. I'm going to challenge you to take a Shinrin Yoku, which is a nature bath. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. And I don't care if you live in LA, find nature, find a park, anywhere, anything you can go. The more secluded, the better. I live in Montana, and so yesterday I took one, and there was not another human being in sight, and I hiked 3 hours up a mountain to the top of a peak that no other human was anywhere near, couldn't see, and I took one. And it was one of the most cathartic, releasing moments of my life, and I try to do at least one a month. But what I'm going to challenge you to do is to do at least one in the next 7 days, okay? So here are the 5 steps to take a nature bath. Step number 1, leave behind your phone, camera, or any other distraction so that you can be fully present in the experience. My one caveat of this, if you need it for emergencies or for safety, you put it in a backpack, you put it somewhere, but you don't take it out. You don't take photos, you don't do anything. You are fully present. Step number 2, leave behind your goals and expectations. Wander aimlessly, allowing your body to take you wherever it wants. You can follow a trail or you can go off the trail. You can walk in woods. You can walk aimlessly. The whole point is not to have an agenda. The whole point is to be present. Step number 3, pause from time to time to look more closely at a leaf or notice the sensation of the path beneath your feet or the sound. Like for me yesterday, I was hiking and I thought it was raining and it was cloudy above me, but I actually looked over and it wasn't rain. It was the sound of the wind blowing the fall leaves off the trees. And I had to stop and look. And there was this part of the forest where it was literally showering me with leaves falling off the trees. And it was the most beautiful sound, beautiful sensation. And I felt like the earth was rewarding me for being out in nature. Step number 4, find a comfy spot to take a seat and listen to the sounds around you. See how the behavior of the birds and other animals changes when they become used to your presence. I'll share this one with you. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. People are like, George, how do you keep seeing these animals? How did that goat, that massive, massive mountain goat, get within 5 feet of you? How did that ram walk 3 feet by you? How were those 55 elk within 10 yards of you? And the answer is presence. The answer is practice. The answer is patience. And I actually realized that most of the time that I go hiking, I'm doing this and I'm alone, and I keep being rewarded with the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I see bears, I see rams, I see mountain goats, I see everything. Yesterday, it was actually amazing. For the first time ever, I kept running into, and I'm talking like at 8,000 feet up a mountain, I kept running into these beautiful male pheasants. And I've never seen them, and they actually scared the crap out of me because I was walking and one of them flew right by me, and it's loud. Like their wings, because they don't fly often, sound like a helicopter. And then I just stopped and I sat there. And when I sat there, I got to watch them, and they walked up the path and they walked in front of me, and then a squirrel came and sat on the branch next to me, and I felt like Snow White. And I was like, oh, am I the squirrel whisperer now? But the truth is that these things are around us all the time, and we have to tune into the frequency. And so I want you to find a spot and take a spot and listen and do it for an amount of time. Like be present and practice it. And step number 5 is, if you go with others, make an agreement to resist talking until the end of the walk, when you could gather to share your experiences. One of the most beautiful parts of a Shinrin Yoku is your commitment to the presence, your commitment to the silence, and your commitment to that container. And the integrity in which you keep that will very, very much deem or demand the result that you get. I don't even know if that makes sense. It made sense in my brain. It will dictate the result that you get. You keep that container tight. You really hold yourself accountable to the present, to not checking your phone, to not having conversations, to finding those noises, to sitting down, to noticing, to wandering aimlessly. And your soul will start to guide you. And that can sound as woo-woo as you want, but you know it's true. You're listening to this, you know it's true. You're like, oh, that's happened to me in a massage, or I felt that before, I've experienced that before. You need to go practice it. You need to go practice it, because taking a nature bath will align you on the outside and inside. It will align your physical and your mental well-being. It will help you practice presence. It will get you into the moment to be in a position of clarity for making decisions, probably seeing things at a 30,000 foot level. And for me, the most challenging part of a Shinrin Yoku is actually being able to release the thoughts when I have them, not trying to remember them or write them down or be like, oh, I can't forget that. I'm like, oh, cool. And I tell myself, if it's important, I'll remember it. If it's important, it'll come up again. Once I think it, I already know it's in my brain. And my job isn't to try to control it and keep it like some scarcity. It's to let it go and be in the moment. And they always come back. They always come back a day later, a week later. And if they don't, it wasn't meant to be. But I've found the more that I do this, I'll have the same repeating ideas or the same repeating thoughts. And if I get it 2 or 3 times, then it's time to act on it. And so here is how we take this full circle. How do you unlock your genius? How do you really make sure that you're operating at the highest and best version of yourself, that you're utilizing the best ideas that you have, that you're tuned into the right frequency? You need to take a bath. You need to take a Shinrin Yoku. And I don't want to hear any excuses. If you're thinking them, great. If you tell me, like, I live in Manhattan, great. Go find the most quiet part of Central Park, or take a road trip and go up into Western New York and go find the woods. If you live in New England, go. If there's snow, dress accordingly and go. If you live in California, go do it in the desert. I don't care, but there's always a way. And if you're having resistance to it, that's the world, the universe, whatever, screaming for you to do it. The only path is through, and I want you to lean into it. I'm telling you right now that I can't even put into the words the benefits that you'll receive outside of what I can read to you off my notes. But once you feel it, once you experience it, I would love for you to come to Montana and take one with me. We can go do them together, but you'll understand and you'll be able to feel it. And so my challenge for you in the next 7 days is to go take a Shinrin Yoku. And if you're listening to this and be like, George, the hell does this have to do with entrepreneurship? What the hell does this have to do with scaling my company? Well, once you start to play this game, you realize that you're the common denominator, and your ability to be present, to be clear, to make informed decisions, and to always come from a place of your intuition, your guidance, is the secret. It increases your capacity for sales. It increases your capacity to lead a team. It increases your capacity to communicate effectively, to handle stress. And the secret to accomplishing your goals and accomplishing your vision isn't a game of strength and intensity. It's a game of resiliency and patience. It's a long game. And it's one that we must practice every single day. And so what do I believe in my soul? I believe in my soul that the only way that you can have your 6-figure business, your 7-figure business, your 8-figure business, your 9-figure business, your 10-figure business is to spend the majority of your time working on the relationship with yourself and then allowing that to permeate into the world, in your decisions, in your leadership, in your marketing, in your messaging, in your planning, in every single thing that you know, like, trust, and do. And that's going to be the secret, because alignment is the only way that it works. You show up every day, you do the work, and you do it from a place of alignment, from clarity, from where you want to go, because you're confident and comfortable with who you are. And then it's just a matter of time. No matter what you do, if you take enough shots or you take enough steps, you're always going to make the basket or make it to the finish line. And that is the point of this game. And so if you want to unlock your genius, you need to go take a bath. Now, in this episode, I was going to share 2 concepts with you. That's what I told you at the beginning. But I realized that it just took me 20 minutes to talk about concept number 1, and I don't want to dilute it. So concept number 2, I'm going to talk about in next Monday's episode. Next Monday's episode, I'm going to talk about number 2. And number 2 can only be done once you do number 1 anyway. So how perfect that this podcast is going to come out. And I challenged you to do a nature bath, a Shinrin Yoku, in the next 7 days, because 7 days from you listening to this, or 7 days from when this podcast released, the next episode will be up on step number 2. And step number 2, quite frankly, is the secret to most of my success and almost all my friends' success. It is another amazing experience, and you will find it used in world champions. You will find it used in gold medalists and professional athletes, amazing entrepreneurs, and it's something that excites the heck out of me, and I'm going to share all about it in the next episode. So, what's your homework today? Number 1, take a Shinrin Yoku in the next 7 days. Number 2, take this episode, a part of this episode, a quote of this episode, send it to 5 friends, post it on Instagram, post it on social, send me a DM, tag me at It's George Bryant so I can see you, so I know that you're doing it, and then share it with your friends. Tell them to find me. Tell them to listen to the show. Help spread that light and make the attention the currency so we can keep playing this game together. And if you're coming to Montana, maybe we'll practice one of these together. And if you're not, or you're listening to this after October of 2021, October 27th of 2021, when the event starts, make sure that you find the next event, because I'm not going to stop doing them, because events and doing events in person with you are number 2 to me doing this podcast. And so take your Shinrin Yoku, send me a DM on Instagram, let me know how it goes, and please take an episode of this clip and pay the tax. Pay the tax of shining the light. Help me turn up the brightness of this light and get it out into the world. But other than that, I think we're done for today. So have an absolutely beautiful day. If it's Monday, amazing. If it's any other day of the week, it's still amazing. Remember that relationships will always beat algorithms, especially the one with yourself. So I will either hear you, or you will either hear me in the next episode, or you will see me. But either way, it's time for me to go work out, get back to work, and I will see you soon. Have a beautiful day. And now it's time to cue the outro.